Hello folks, this is Tom from anti-proton.com, and we're yet again in Fredericksburg, Virginia, because I live in northern Virginia, so Fredericksburg's a pretty close drive for me. And Fredericksburg is a beautiful historic town that has buildings and brick and all kinds of stuff, and it's a good place to look for depression glassware. I found that there's huge amounts of it here, and some Fiestaware too in some of the shops. And if we look at our Geiger counter readings on our inspector USB, we see that we're not too high, 20-30 counts per minute. Actually, if I recall, there was some brick over here that was reasonably hot, so let's go take a look and see the readings we get. Well, the readings in the brick aren't too high. I'm getting between 60 and 90 counts per minute. Nothing much, but all the brick and stone in the area is the reason that when you're in a place like Fredericksburg, one of these historic types of towns, you're always going to get higher readings for background. If I lived here, and I actually have lived in Fredericksburg before, well, not right in Fredericksburg, but close in, my readings were higher than normal, and I think it has a lot to do with this. But anyway, we're not really worried about brick. We're worried about depression glass. Most of that's alpha radiation anyway. But as you can see, all the old buildings are good and radioactive. Lots and lots of old brick. You can see where they've repaired some of the brick right there. So, old brick, new brick. And I found that old and new both have the same types of readings. So let's go buy some stuff. Although I should point out that a lot of places are not going to let us go inside with the camera. They're really freaky about that down here. Like, you put out a camera inside a shop and they just freak out. So we'll see what we see. Well, I found myself a piece of what looks like either Vaseline or canary glass. I'm not 100% sure. It gets about 2,000 counts per minute from alpha mostly. I'll cut the volume off. As you can see, my battery is almost run out on this thing. The inspector USB goes through batteries like crazy. But anyway, the majority of stuff is on this set of streets right here. This is William Street. It goes down this way. And this right here is called Caroline Street. It goes down that way. And if you look on Caroline Street over that way is where the majority of the good shops are. And there's lots of antique shops down here, and the antique shops are full of depression glass. Lots and lots and lots of it. That's in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Let's go find some more if we can. I haven't found any new good depression glass yet, but as you can see, this town is definitely the product of the 50s and 60s. Notice the fallout shelter, the capacity of 30. These dot the entire area because these buildings are brick and pretty strong. At one point, a kit would have been deployed here with a CDB, probably 700 and maybe a 715 or two, perhaps. But definitely stocked with food and water. Interesting. Now see, this is why I like Fredericksburg. I got myself 2 peanut butter chocolate truffles. Peanut butter chocolate truffles. I got myself 2 pounds of New York strip steak at a total cost of $30.88. They were about $15 a piece, about $15 a pound. Heavy things, but they're pretty good because they have an actual butcher shop right there in the town. But then I also, and this is the most important part, got myself canary glass. This is just the top piece of it. You can see a lady right there was like staring at me as she walked by. She's like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he holding glass to a detector? But anyway, and as you can see, oh shit, there goes the alarm. There you go. They don't call it the inspector alert for nothing. It's got an alarm built into it. Now let's go home and see how hot it gets and maybe put it to a black light. Alright, so we've run this unit for 2 hours under the spectrometer to see what we get. There's the unit, and here's the pieces of metal to hold it in place. That's the spectrometer head right there, and you pull the top off of this, and as you can see, the spectrometer is underneath. This is a sodium iodide detector of 1.5 inches. And to give you an idea of what's going on here, when I take my Ludlum, this is in 0 to 10 times 10 scale, so 0 to 5,000 counts per minute. Cut the sound on. We're looking at around 2,500 counts per minute. If I put the detector up against this, it maxes. If I pull the top off, put the detector on it, and then we're maxed again, set it to the times 100 scale, now it's 0, 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 counts per minute. So we look at this, we know that we're at about 2,500 counts per minute now. So 2, 4, 6, it's about 6,000 counts. So let's say about 4,000 something counts per minute is what I'm getting off of this, the Ludlum. So let's look at the spectrum and see just what this little beautiful piece of glass is. By the way, the glove I'm wearing is not for the depression glass, it's for handling the lead. It makes it easier for cleanup. Oh, and just for giggles, on the CDV700 with the beta shield open, let me pull this off right here and stick this inside. Let's turn it to times 1. 0, 100, 200, 300 counts per minute. Getting 200 counts per minute. Background's like 10, 15. Not bad, huh? Alright. Okay, so when you look at the spectrum here, and you can move it up and down and kind of look at this, it sort of jumps out at you. As you can see here, this is low energy gamma rays. These over here are high energy gamma rays, and it goes lower going up to higher energy. So that's what the X is. And the Y are counts, 24,000 counts, 16,000 counts, and so on. You can zoom out a little bit. Now, we see peaks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very pronounced peaks. And if you expand to a logarithmic view versus a linear view, you see a few extra peaks. And this, of course, is a gamma spectrum of the depression glass. You see uranium-235 at 19.59 keV, thorium-234 two times, here and here at 63.29 and 92.38 keV. Uranium-235 again, uranium-235, probably radium-226. When I zoom in really closely, it looks like there's a second peak forming on top of here, although I'm not really 100% sure. You can see if you zoom in really carefully, and you can kind of see it a little bit here. You have to actually be logged on using the software and everything to actually really see this. But you can see the start of the lead-214 bismuth-214 chains. They're too low in activity to really be a good detection. They're below the critical limit and that sort of thing. But you can kind of with your own eye see where they're going to be forming. So normally we don't go with what our eye randomly sees, but it's sort of an expected result. You can see protactinium-224 in a metastable version of it over here. Right there and right there. You can't see it very well in the linear view, but if you expand out to logarithmic, you can see it. And the two of these hint at either a natural refined uranium that's been chemically purified, or more likely depleted uranium. The two are very similar to one another. The difference between depleted uranium and regular uranium is just a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a percentage of how much uranium-235 to 238 there are. Those are the two common types of uranium that you find. So it's hard to say which one it is. I would suspect that this is depleted uranium. It could be chemically purified natural uranium, but it's probably depleted uranium. That was very commonly used at the time. But it definitely glows in the dark. It looks absolutely wonderful, and it's not thorium or anything like that. So quite interesting to see. Just for giggles, it does glow pretty nicely under a black light, as you can see. Not the best glow in the entire world, but it's getting there. Spectrum will tell us for sure, but it's probably uranium. I would bet it's depleted uranium.